is your first time on the call, I want you to hear me very clearly. Please get a pen and piece of paper.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ray Hendrickson, National Director, soon to be Senior Vice President with the awesome and incredible Team TNT, an incredible 5-link business opportunity. We're going on Facebook Live. Right now, we have National Director Mariko Turner kind of launching the call, and we're excited because today is Freedom Friday. It's the last Friday before our St. Louis Nationals, which are going to convene in St. Louis next week, starting on Wednesday. So all roads lead to St. Louis. And if you haven't made your final arrangements, we've developed a way that would allow you to finance your trip to St. Louis. Here's what I'd recommend you do. If you are already paid up, if you'd like some extra pocket money, if you're trying to figure out how to get your downline to St. Louis, if perhaps you've got some people in your organization who are trying to figure out how to put all of the pieces together, maybe they got their ticket, but they haven't gotten lodging. Maybe they got their lodging, but they haven't figured out how they're going to feed themselves for 5 days. Maybe they've got their housing and their lodging and they've got their food all situated, but they want to go to the white party or to the celebrity dinner, or they want to go to the boot camp. We've got a way for you to do that. And so I would recommend that you send an email to run2diamond@gmail.com. Run, R-U-N, 2diamond@gmail.com. We've got a plan that 2 people are already taking advantage of. The first young man, his name is Bill Grazier. He's figured out a way using our referral system to pay for his trip to St. Louis. And then, of course, there's Vivienne Lang. She figured out a way to use our referral system to pay for herself to get to St. Louis. And now people are using this system to finance their whole organizations to get there. So we want to encourage that you do that. And as we prepare to launch the rest of this call, we're asking that you stay tuned. In the meantime, you got Platinum Senior Vice President Thomas Felder in his Sunday's best, getting ready to help us. It's magnificent. We appreciate it.
We're going live, everybody. Please stand by. Mariko Turner is sort of breaking it down the way he normally does. And then my good friend Ray Hendrickson. We're going to leave this thing broken and smoking today. Today is Freedom Friday. You know, all of the ways that we talk nice and sweet and pleasant during the week, all of that goes out the door on Friday. All of the sort of keep it nice and formal and play by the book on Friday, we let it all hang out. We know you're going to need a whole lot of energy. You're going to need a whole lot of motivation, inspiration. You're going to need a whole lot to get you to the weekend. And we're going to give you just enough to get you over the bridge from here till Monday. Is that all right? And you can even play this all week long, share it with your friends or your family members. Anybody you know who wants to learn how to make 6 figures or more during a 12-month period. We're going to teach you how to do that. Listen, we're going to go back to our regular scheduled programming. I'll be back on the end, and we're going to sort of cut this thing up. If you're at work, you better find a quiet place. If you need to hang out in the stall or in the stairwell, do what you got to so you can get the information that you need. We're going to go and let you hear the rest of the intro by Mariko Turner, and then you'll hear from Ray Hendrickson. God bless. Thomas Felder. I'll be back. As y'all can tell, we are our own studio right now.
It's just a very short period of time. He literally spent his days helping people just like you and I earn a above average income. He's having a lot of fun doing it. So I introduce the son and present to others top producing, top trading in all network marketing, my friend, my brother, and mentor, National Director, soon to be Senior Vice President, Mr. Ray, the Sensei.
Good afternoon, Mr. Turner. I am on the call. I'm excited to be on a call with you all. Today is Freedom Friday, and we call it Freedom Friday because Freedom Friday gives us an opportunity to kind of recall the reason why we fight so hard. Many of us get up and go to work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we do it because we go out of our house to fight for and provide for the people that live in our house. And I'm excited about that because I know many of us, we look forward to Friday simply because we get a little bit of a reprieve. We get a little bit of a break. We get a little bit of time to rest and to relax with our family and friends. Maybe put our hair down for those of you who have more hair than I do. Maybe put your feet up. Maybe watch the game. Maybe enjoy your kids. Play ball, toss the ball, catch the ball, teach how to hit the ball, play volleyball in the yard. I don't know what it is that you guys do for rest and relaxation, but I know that many of us are excited about Fridays because we look forward to the time that we can spend with our families. But here's what I want to ask you all. When we look at the first story in the scriptures, and I usually use the scriptures because everybody's familiar with the story. And so you look at this guy named Adam who was formed from the dust of the ground, and he had a family. But before he had a family, he had financial independence. Did you know that Mr. Adam never had to check in? He never had to punch in. He never had to check with the boss. He never had to answer to nobody. He was financially independent. He was self-sustaining. He was self-reliant. And somewhere along the line between that time and this, between that story and your story, we've given up the whole idea of being self-reliant, of being financially independent. And so now we even are prepared to teach our children not to be financially independent. We teach our children to be dependent. But when you look at the model, when you look at the situation there in the Garden of Eden, what could we say about that situation that is different than ours? Well, first of all, Adam had land. Now, why is that important? If Adam owned the land, then everything on the land belonged to Adam. Adam could therefore feed his own family from his own land. And it was so plenteous that they never ran out of food. But in our situation, we don't own our own land. And if we don't own our own land, we can't control what's on the land. So somewhere along the line, somebody got smart enough to buy up all the land and charged you rent for the land that you are supposed to be given to as a birthright. And so think about what has happened. You want to know how to subjugate a population? You grab the mommy and daddy and you persuade them that what they used to know is not the way to go, and the parents will teach the children how to remain subjugated. All you need is one generation. And when you have a system in place that has been doing it generationally over and over and over again, it's no wonder why we're in the situation that we're in today. Even today, when no one that you or I have ever met has gone to school, got a good education, makes an awful lot of money through their dream job, lives their dream lifestyle, we're prepared to tell our children the same thing. Now, flag on the play, let's scratch our head. Wasn't it Albert Einstein who said the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting a different result? Well, I've been taught that there are two kinds of wise people in the world. Wise person number one learns from his own mistakes. Wise person number two learns from the people who went before him so that he doesn't have to repeat the same mistakes. Which kind of wise person would you do? When you recognize that you only have a finite amount of time on this planet, doesn't it make sense to take advice from people who have already gone down that road so that you don't have to repeat it? Well, guess what? When my grandparents came to this country, they came to this country for opportunity. They thought that the roads were paved in gold. They thought it was the land of milk and honey. They thought it was the land of opportunity and the land of prosperity. So they left what we in America call paradise to come to this country for opportunity and prosperity's sake. And in traditional, stereotypical Caribbean fashion, Granddad had two jobs. He was a bricklayer by day and the superintendent of the building at night. This was the guy you would call if the creak in the door just made a little too much noise for your comfortability. My grandmother, on the other hand, she scrubbed people's floors before she ever made it home to scrub her own floors and to put food on the table for her own children. So now she had 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, and she thought that the formula for success was to teach them, go to school, get a good education, you'll get a good job, you'll make lots of money, and you'll be successful. Even though it hadn't worked for them, they thought that this formula would work for her children. And so my grandparents told my mom and my aunts and uncles, and everybody went off into the world to attempt to do it. Some of them got bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, a few got PhDs, and even today, they're still struggling. But in spite of their own experience, they taught their children. Well, listen, it didn't quite work out for me. But let me tell you what the secret to success is. If you go to school, get a good education, you'll find a good job, you'll make lots of money and be successful. So now guess what? My mom had 2 children. We grew up in the projects at a time when the South Bronx was the murder capital of the United States, and I just knew, I knew it. I refused to grow up, have children, and have children reared in the projects. It wasn't going to happen. I just couldn't stomach the smell of urine and defecation in the staircase over and over and over. While everybody was waiting for Friday night, so was the local junkie, so was the local alcoholic. And what they would do is get as high as they possibly could and proverbially always pass out in the staircase. They would always in the same place. And you'd have to figure out a way to navigate over them so that you wouldn't disturb the poking bear between your legs as you tried to get over them to get up the staircase. I was not prepared to do that for my children. Mom gave me the formula to succeed. Go to school, get an education, get a good job, make a lot of money, be successful. So since I knew that mama wouldn't put me in harm's way, she loved me more than cook food, she would fight a grown man to take care of her children. I knew this had to be the right way. So guess what I decided to do? I made some promises to mama and them. I said, Mama, for all the sacrifice that you made, for all the tears that you shed, for all the effort that you've employed, for every day that you couldn't be at the school play, for every time that you couldn't throw the ball with me in the backyard, for every moment that you had to forsake to go to work because you had to put clothes on my back and food on the table and shoes on my feet and keep a roof over my head, I promise I will always do the right thing. I didn't want to add any more insult to injury. So I was not going to be the kind of son that added a whole series of tragedies to her otherwise pretty complete and overwhelming life. I was not going to get in trouble with the law. I was going to do good in school. I was not going to have a litter of illegitimate children. I was going to follow the rules. And so I went to one of the top 3 public schools in the United States, Brooklyn Technical High School. They call it a public school, but you got to take a test to get in. It's the most private public school I've ever heard of. I took the test first time, got in. 4 years they told me I was going to be there. 4 years. So I knew going in that I would be there for 4 years. You know what I did? I committed to the process. Because at the end of the process, I'd get a little piece of paper that said, aha, you graduated, you did it, you're a champion. So I went every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, week in, week out, month in, month out, semester in, semester out, year in, year out. After 4 long years, I graduated. And they gave me a piece of paper that says, now it's official, you don't know nothing. Now you got to go back to school, but this time you pay for it. So 12 years is not enough. No. You got to go back to school. You need 4 more good ones. So now I don't have the money to go to school. Pretty smart kid. Always did the right things. Mama said go to school, get an education, get a good job, make a lot of money, be successful. I was prepared to do that. But I couldn't afford to go to school. So now what do you do if the formula you've been given, you can't afford to matriculate through the formula? Well, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go to get the money? Mama don't got no money. My auntie don't have no money. My uncles and them ain't got no money. Grandmama and them, they're already passed on. They didn't have no money. And they all have been given the same formula. Well, wait a minute. If we're all following the same formula and nobody got no money, then there must be a rat in the kitchen. Needless to say, I was too young and foolish not to recognize the sign of the times, couldn't read the writing on the wall. So I said I'd come up with an idea. I'll join the military, and under the GI Bill, I could get the money to go to school. So I joined the Marine Corps. They were looking for a few good men. You can't tell me coming out of the South Bronx, as fly as I wasn't qualified. So I joined the Marine Corps. I wasn't necessarily a patriot, you see. I was looking for the income I needed to get through college. And so I joined the Marine Corps, became one of the few African Americans that you'll ever meet with top secret security status. You better believe it. Graduated from honor grad #1 out of 72 recruits from all over the United States. That's me, because mama said if I go to school and I get a good education, I'll find a good job, I'll make lots of money, and I'll be successful. And mama, I made a lot of promises to you, and I'm going to keep these promises because you deserve a break today. So I went through 4 years of the Marine Corps, 2 active, 2 reserve, went off to historically black university in Richmond, Virginia. Virginia Union! All you Unionites out there. Studying 2 majors. Now, 1 major is usually a 4-year run. 2 majors is usually an 8-year run. I took them at the same time to make them a 5-year run because I didn't have a whole lot of time. I needed to get back to New York to become the first black CEO of this company or the first black CEO of that company because Ray made some promises to mama and them. So now here I am, I'm done with school, I'm back in New York, got a brand new suit on, got a new attitude, got broad shoulders, the boy is ready. Got a resume so heavy you need a weight belt to carry it. I'm rolling this thing around in a wheelbarrow. It's thick and rich and choco lit. I just knew, because now that I had gone to school and got a good education, somebody was going to give me a good job. I figured there'd be people lined up around the corner, just like when I was a kid and they were giving away government cheese. Y'all remember government cheese? Not government cheese, it was government cheese. Everybody wanted government cheese. This cheese would last so long and it was so heavy if you dropped it, you'd break your instep on the top of your foot. This cheese was so big, I mean, it was crazy. It looked like a 2x4 that came in a different color than wood. I just knew they were going to give it to me. I just knew they was going to give it to me. So I went out there with that big resume and I started. It's Ray. I went to school. I got a good education. Now I'm looking for the good job. So now here's when things started to change. I went to school. I got a good education. But now I got to rely on somebody else to give me something based on what I did. But by asking them for the thing I'm looking for, I give them permission to tell me the value of the time I invested. What? Wait a minute. You went to school. You got a good education. And now you got to go see somebody who is going to determine what your time is worth? I got a problem with that. You know, we do these presentations just about every day. And sometimes we do them for massive groups of people. Sometimes upper echelon management, sometimes blue collar workers, and the spectrum in between. And every now and then I get to demonstrating this exercise. I'll walk through the crowd and I'll identify somebody and I'll say, hey, my name is Ray Hendrickson. Let's just be a friend for just a moment. Will you agree to be my friend? For those of you who are watching, for those of you who are listening, would you guys just agree to be my friend just for a moment? Oftentimes I'll ask, are you right-handed or left-handed? And more often than not, people will say right-handed, but even if they say left-handed, it won't make me no difference. The example is still the same. But let's just use right-handed because right-handed typically is the kind of people that you meet. So that means if you're right-handed, your right hand is so responsible for the course of your day, you couldn't live without your right hand. When you wake up in the morning, your right hand wipes the coal out your eye. When you wake up in the morning, your right hand grabs your toothbrush. When you wake up in the morning, your right hand does the wiping. When you wake up in the morning, your right hand is responsible for putting the makeup on or shaving that pretty face of yours. Your right hand is responsible for tucking your belt in and putting your pants in your pocket. Your right hand is responsible for turning the key to lock the door and putting the key in the ignition and then driving to work. It's your right hand that is critical to your existence, which means the left hand, although important, is not nearly as important. So now what if I were to offer you $500,000 for your right hand? Now I want you to picture this. Last time we did this, there was a sea of people, 500-600 people. There were 250 people to the right of me. There were 250 people to the left of me. And I'm talking to one person in the front row. Person said, absolutely not. $500,000. I said, look, I got a briefcase with the money right over here. I'll give you $500,000. It'll be you and me. It'll be a secret. You'll never have to pay taxes on it. I'll just cut off the arm right at the shoulder and you'll be $500,000 richer. The person said, absolutely not. And I said, well, wait a minute. It's $500,000 in cash. You wouldn't take the 500? The person said, of course I'll take the 500. But you can't have my left arm for 500. I said, okay, you know how to bargain. You know how to negotiate. How about $1 million? $1 million